Handsome gentlemen. Lily is off tonight. She's spending time with family, as we all should when we can. Okay, those of us who still care for our families and vice versa. If you got a family, you should be with them as often as you can, right? So Lily will be back with us ASAP. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the block. I am YouTube and your favorite devil's advocate, Jen. Gentlemen, introduce yourselves, seeing as we have a little bit of time and we may have new viewers. Let them know who we are and where they can find you and what you do, because we're not just faces.
Musician and music producer Heron DeMarco. You can catch me here on YouTube as Heron DeMarco. I'm constantly posting these days, whether it's music, me actually playing guitar, me fucking around on the piano, me just yelling at people, so on and so forth. Some sort of sound is going to emit when you see me around these parts. You can also catch me on Spotify and Apple Music under Heron DeMarco. And you can catch me on IG as Dangerous DeMarco.
Hello, everyone. Yes. I am Saint. I am no saint. I am Saint, no saint on IG, on YouTube. I'm just no saint on TikTok. And yeah, that's about all I want to say tonight. Just join in.
Yes, we welcome people to come up on the panel as well. You can come up behind your avatar. A lot of you people like to hide, men and women. You feel most confident hiding behind your avatar. You can do that. You can hide on the panel, but you have to throw something in the super chat to come on up here and hide on the panel. The block has been super, super busy, but we will promise you to stay in the algorithm and keep bringing you the shit that y'all like. If you want to come up for free, then show your face. We don't charge you for showing your face. Tonight's topic may be a little, spicy, because some may deem it as victim blaming or shaming. I didn't have time to do the thumbnail, but trust me, the thumbnail is going to be quite interesting. I just didn't have time to do it, but I got Tupac, PNB Rock, Pop Smoke, Tupac, Biggie Smalls, XXX Tentacion ready for this thumbnail. And the question tonight is, are rappers responsible for their own deaths? I love the fluff conversation we had last night about Tupac and keeping it real and street cred and what have you. So I wanted to dig into that a little further. We'll be here around about an hour, maybe a little under. We'll see how interesting it gets, and we'll see who pulls up and comes through in comments and retorts and replies and say, you can't blame them for their own deaths. But can we? Can we not? We shall see tonight. There was an interesting story out of New York City that Haran made me aware of. A social activist was murdered on the streets of Bed-Stuy, to be exact, somewhere around 3:50 in the morning. Him and a friend, I'm not sure if it was a girlfriend, they were returning from a wedding, was what the story said. The man's name is Ryan Carlson. Is that correct, guys? Ryan Carson. I'm sorry, Ryan Carson. Well-known, beloved. It says activist, Brooklyn activist. Ryan Carson stabbed to death. There is a video to accompany it, as with most of these horrible murders. Now there's videos because there's cameras everywhere. So this gentleman and a woman friend, not sure who she was, were just chilling, sitting around, maybe tipsy, maybe not. They just left the wedding. And this crazed knife-wielding man stabbed him to death, stabbed him in the chest a couple times. Ryan was trying to push him back, but that didn't work. The dude looked like he was like, no, someone's getting cut tonight. Dude looked a little off, a little crazy, like a lot of people that roam New York City, as you know, whether it's on the subway or the sidewalk. That's how it is, and around that time, almost 4:00 in the morning, it is zombie land in New York City. So if you're going to be outside, you better have some protection on you, or don't be outside. It's, it's like the witching hour, right? After midnight. What do you think about this story, gentlemen, before we get into are rappers responsible for their own deaths?
Well, I mean, I think that white folks really don't take the time to really understand. A certain degree of white folks don't really take the time to understand that shit just really ain't sweet in certain areas. And when people who look like me attempt to explain to a number of liberals that there's a section of black people who are literally fucking animals, they find some sort of way to, how should I put it, uh, make an excuse, find some sort of reasoning for their existence, basically not acknowledging that there is an underbelly and a filth that continues to roam the streets,
Holy
these
fuck.
neighborhoods, and they contribute to the downgrade of those situations. Now, it's easy to say,
They contribute. They contribute.
well, I dare I say they are the core to some degree. To some
Holy
degree. Now,
fuck.
listen.
Did you bring your vest, No Saint? I hope you got your vest on tonight. God damn.
This is overall to say. This is overall to say
Shit.
that these kinds of people, day in and day out, they continue to contribute to the to the mass destruction of their own neighborhoods. Now, when you try to explain these things, these liberals, again, they go on their kumbaya, tour and so on. Now look at this. The irony of it is that the person who represents the people that you had a bleeding heart for, left your heart bleeding out in the middle of the fucking street
Oh, dang.
on Malcolm X Boulevard. I mean, it's a sad way to go, bro. I mean,
It is. It
but
is. Very much so.
in those situations, this is one of those situations where toxic masculinity does seem like an appropriate situation, to combat that bullshit. That dude actually approached this knife wielding gentleman. I'm assuming that it wasn't a butter knife. I'm assuming that this shit was a hatchet to some degree. And he told him, chill. Like he seemed as if he was trying to, I don't know, smooth the situation over. He didn't understand what he was up against. Okay. I told Jen that at that given moment in time, that chick should have ran out on that dude and left him to die. That's just my opinion.
Jesus. So we included toxic masculinity. I don't have enough bells for that. The race bell. I mean, the liberal bell, people contributing to their own demise. I'm going to take that all in while No Saint jumps in here if he dares.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So, first of all, yeah, the first mistake I thought he made was this, because listen, I you can call me, I still say I'm left of center, but what I think about are the people that are innocent that are living in the situations. I totally know that there is a criminal element where you have poverty, and I've been in situations early in the morning that when I see someone like that pass me, someone like that meaning someone by themselves, kind of not looking, just out of place, kind of, like I'm going the other direction. I'm like, let's go. And I start walking. I don't go walk towards the guy. And he looked like he was starting to beat up on somebody's car or whatever. Even if that's my car, I'm going the other way because my car is not worth me having to deal. And then if you want to call the police or you want to do whatever, but he was totally unequipped. Like I said, I don't know if he lives in that area. I don't know if he lives in that neighborhood. And part of the problem is now with the gentrification is the neighborhoods look nicer, but some of the criminal elements are still in that neighborhood. So you feel safe. This is like an area probably that looks kind of safe, but it could happen anywhere. It could happen in a safe area too. It happens in New Orleans and some of the richest areas uptown. All it takes is one person, right? The only thing stopping, to quote someone that works here, the only thing stopping someone from coming in and from him, he says, the only thing stopping me from coming here and shooting, and he's not saying seriously, but there's only one person that's stopping me from coming in and killing you, and that's me, right? So, I mean, but yeah, he was unequipped. I don't know the guy's background. He didn't seem like he was equipped to handle a situation that he found himself in. Like, chill. That's not a magic word. That might work in some areas, but he's alone. He's with this lady, and evidently like Karan said, she should have been taken off and calling the police. And yeah, I mean, at that point,
he had no violent intent in him. See, in a situation like that, you have to have some sort of degree of violent intention into you, in you to even defend yourself in the situation. because something should snap in you and say, okay, this is a life or death situation.
Especially after the first strike. I think he got him right once up here.
What I'm saying is, I was telling Jay, I was like, physically, from a physical stature, he should have been able to take that guy down. He was taller, he was heavier. However, he did not have violent intent. Okay.
Right. And that was my point, right? Because people automatically think, well, this person is bigger than the other person. You know what I mean? No brainer. But if that person's never had a violent confrontation in their entire life, they might as well be fighting with a woman. If they're not in it, which is why I think he just was like, hey, chill. Like, I don't even know what this is. Anybody else would have took a stance, right? Any other man would have took a stance like, what the fuck are you doing? You know, it bucked up real quick. So I want to, before we continue, Brother Ish, welcome to the block, sir. Peace. Before we continue, I want people up to speed because they may not know. A suspect has been identified in the fatal stabbing of a Brooklyn activist early Monday morning. Ryan Carson, 32 years old, was stabbed to death while waiting for the bus with his girlfriend. Okay, now we know that was his girlfriend, which changes the dynamic for me. And what appeared to be a random, unprovoked attack. Officials say Carson put himself between his stabber and his girlfriend before the fatal attack. An 18-year-old male suspect is now being sought in the stabbing. Police say he was enrolled in a learn to work program, which is probably something that Ryan Carson fought for because he was a social advocate and activist, right? So they are currently searching for him in the area. And watch your mics, guys. Watch your mics. They're currently searching for him in the area and other locations, such as around Commodore Barry Park and Fort Greene, where he is known to frequent. The suspect was identified as Brian by a mystery woman who arrived immediately after the fatal stabbing, according to detectives who determined that connection via surveillance video and witness interviews. So I guess people in the neighborhood was like, oh, that's Brian. He's always out here. The unidentified suspect is said to have had prior summonses for disorderly conduct. In 2022, authorities say 2 months ago, he broke his girlfriend's belongings during a fight in her apartment. His aunt called 911 at the time, describing him as emotionally disturbed and unstable. NYPD chief said there were no prior interactions between Carson and his girlfriend or the suspect. They were sitting on a bench having a conversation, then got up to walk to her apartment when the suspect turned to them, police said. Police have not released the identity of the assailant, but detectives have surveillance video of the blah, blah, blah. Carson is remembered for his unwavering passion for change and brimming with positivity and joy, and the tragedy has left the community in mourning. It's incredibly tragic. A life full of promise is snuffed out, and the world is a worse place for it. We'll miss him dearly. So it sounds like this man, the assailant, was in a program that maybe Ryan Carson would have fought for, right? He was a social advocate. He was all about fighting for rights. And here this man, you know what I mean, comes out of nowhere, has a mental break and decides to stab someone to death who pretty much would have helped him and his situation. So some people may say, irony. But since the subject tonight is, are rappers responsible for their own deaths? Let's flip it to Ryan Carson. Is Ryan Carson responsible for his own death? And I know people they're gonna retort, no one's responsible for their own death. Stop victim blaming. But for the sake of argument, let's discuss tonight, could you prevent your own death? What's up, Crazy Legs Rock Steady crew in the building? We're talking about our rappers responsible for their own death, but we're fluffing it with Ryan Carson, who wasn't a rapper. He was actually a social advocate. He was murdered Monday morning in the wee hours. So we're kind of talking about, can you prevent your death? Is it possible? Should we listen to Mama when she says, get your ass home before the street lights come on?
In a situation like this, man, what's horrid is that because of his stance and because of who he is, he couldn't even protect his woman. He didn't even have any kind of intention or anything like that to protect his woman or protect himself.
Oh, that's another layer. Holy fuck.
You're so immersed and embedded and being some sort of, I don't know, pacifist and standing on that. I'm not saying that he needed to be this incredibly violent person. Okay, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying he had to be a fucking sociopath or a psychopath, but to some degree, this guy didn't even know how to defend himself. Let's defend another person. And being put in that kind of situation, he was essentially fucking helpless. Essentially fucking helpless. And dare I say useless. It's fucking useless to that woman in that situation. And these are the facts. What the fuck was he able to do? At best, I guess he could have held off some time for if she decided to call the cops for the cops to get there, you know what I mean, maybe tussle with him or whatever. But he was useless in that situation, man.
God damn, Haran going for the jugular tonight, saying he's completely useless. Do you think someone who's a pacifist and plays kumbaya all the time, do you think that they may be more disarmed than the average man because they're, you know what I mean, they're constantly thinking peace and love and help people? Is that what you're saying, basically, that he was disarmed in his masculinity?
Well, let me rephrase that, because I do know some so-called squares and some so-called pacifists who can pretty much break every bone in your body, and I've damn near seen them do this. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and when it's necessary. You know what I mean? I don't have an issue with someone being a pacifist or whatever, or walking away or so on and so forth. But if you aren't capable of at least protecting your family at a bare minimum, at least long enough for the proper authorities or the cavalry to come, they'll fucking use you as a man. I stand on that. If somebody breaks into your fucking home and you can't even stop them from killing all your children or your woman, like, why are you there?
Crazy Legs, I'm gonna get into that most definitely. You said the whole rap game is far removed from the idea of hip hop. I really want to dissect that because I feel like they're synonymous. You can't have one with the other, but I know you like separating the two. But it reminds me of when people say, I'm not religious, but I believe in God. I feel like, well, if there was no religion, you wouldn't know who a God was. And I know you're adamant about separating the two. Rap is in hip hop and vice versa. But these guys are part of the game. But before we get into that, there's a really interesting point of view that you're taking, Haran, and I'm glad that Brother Ish is up here because what you said when you described the passive man who can break every bone in your body, it is kind of, you know what I mean, how you would describe the FOI, right? Where the FOI aren't running around, you know what I mean, rah rah rah, but it's like, you know, I've seen FOI do some serious damage, right? And stop and
defend a situation. This
right,
is different.
and stop serious damage from happening. Brother Ish, what do you think about this story now that you're up to speed and everything that Haran's saying? Because he's throwing some haymakers.
It's I mean, there's some truth in what Haran is saying, but there's aspects of not everybody is equipped to be a protector and a provider. So they have a desire to be a husband and they're in a relationship, but they may not necessarily be fully equipped for that role of that type of protection, and that's why they may extricate themselves in a certain community. So when you're talking about that, not every, I mean, and no disrespect to No Saint, but I'm not going to hire No Saint for security.
I think No Saint is okay with that.
right. And that's just because of just what I can perceive of No Saint. I may be 100% wrong, but I mean, what I can perceive, he's not equipped for certain environments, certain situations. Ergo, you avoid those environments and those situations. And that's about and him being in an environment and situation with this girl, which he may not have planned on, it may be circumstantial. 3 a.m, you might be a little saucy, and you're walking around and you see some guy and he's on one, and may not even be on this planet right now. He may be
Right.
higher than a kite. He may
Right.
have, mental health challenges or whatever, and you run into a problem. So that's a dynamic piece, brother.
Now it's a party.
So I mean that has to be something to take into consideration, that not everybody's built for for gladiator school. At the end of the day.
Okay, so before we shift gears into our rappers responsible for their own deaths, I do want to ask one last question about this crime. A lot of people on Twitter were basically saying that there's an arrogance to white people who gentrify the neighborhood and they think they could just walk around free willy nilly, and nothing's going to happen to them. I think if you're from New York, which a couple of us are, we know you don't play around at 4:00 in the morning. Right? You don't play around at 4:00 in the morning in Brooklyn, in the Bronx. You don't play around like that. But a lot of people were saying, and white people were saying, that this guy was too confident and too arrogant to think he could walk around Bed-Stuy 4:00 in the morning, no weapons, suit on, straight out of a wedding with his girlfriend. What do you think? What do you think about when people say that the white people are just too, hey, it's my world, even at 4:00 in the morning in Bed-Stuy?
It's the Lewis and Clark syndrome. They think they can walk into every wilderness and think they can conquer it, and they realize and they find out really quickly that they're not prepared.
Well, I think they're a victim of ignorance. And there's a couple of things at play. First of all, this guy's probably never grown up where he had to defend himself in a neighborhood, in a neighborhood. Plus, it gets gentrified. And I've seen it in New Orleans. I was picking people up in Uber. I'm like tourists that are in, I'm like, damn, there's Airbnbs in this area. I said, I wouldn't have been gotten dead in this area when I was growing up. You know what I mean? And people, they feel comfortable because it kind of seems safe. That things start to seem safe. The houses look nice, especially the one they're renting them out Airbnb. The boutiques are opening up. Things are starting to look better. And I think a lot of white people are ignorant to where they're at. And they have a feeling of safety that's really an aura of safety that's really may or may not be there, and it can change. And then they're not, like Haran says, they're not equipped. They didn't grow up like that. Mm-hmm. So he's saying chill, like a magic word. Like maybe it might have worked in high school. Hey man, chill, but
not any high school I
not
went
in Ben-Stuy. Not in Ben-Stuy. I know the saying. In Ben-Stuy.
Do or die, baby. Do or die.
He pulls out a knife. He's like, bro, chill, bro. No. Voted for Obama twice. Like shit like that.
But damn. I do want to say something to Haran. Haran said something in the chat earlier. And listen, if he had a gun, could have saved. Maybe it might have been able to save him. But a lot of times people have guns and they still get killed because the surprise element, the surprise of. So this guy had a knife, right? Mm-hmm. If it just would have been hands, this guy had a knife, element of surprise. The guy wasn't expecting this to happen to him. He pulls out a knife, chill. He doesn't want to run and leave his girlfriend there.
Let me tell you something about people that carry. Right?
You're different. Right?
No, not me. Not just me. People that carry are already in a mindset to defend their lives and the people that they love. It's already a mindset. If you carry, you already know I have a deadly weapon on me. We're not doing chill as soon as we see someone with a knife.
No. I'm saying in this situation, it might have worked. But I'm saying that you've seen studies where they knew they were in a study where someone was going to come in and couldn't get their gun out fast and get it. And the guys already would have killed them. They would have been dead.
That's
the element of surprise. The element of surprise is always going to win. Yeah.
All right. That's different. And that's a training thing. That's a lack of training thing. However, in the situation, if we just stay with the situation here, the dude literally looked off his rocker. He looked like he was dangerous. When he walked by, he looked off, which is why I found it strange that the couple stood up and walked his direction instead of crossing the street.
But
but I want Legs to jump in here because we do have an icon on a motherfucking block, so we gotta let him speak.
That's funny. I mean, it just sounds like they didn't know when to cross the street. They should have just did. Like, entitlement can lead to a lot of fuck around and find out situations, and it seems like they felt like it was all gravy to just walk through there And I did see that today, and I'm just thinking like, yo, dude, you're walking into the dude. Just grab your girl and dip. You can't defend yourself or your girl. You may as well run. Take the L. Come back another day.
Mhm.
There's
Absolutely.
nothing there.
Yeah,
Um,
such a great point because the guy was banging stuff around. I don't know if it was garbage cans or a car, but he was like kicking something and yelling, and they just walked right towards him, like, "Yeah, that's
Hey,
gonna happen to me. I live
they
here."
went for that dude, right? They were fucking with the dude, right? They were messing with the dude. They really
No,
wanted the dude. They were they trying to mess with the girl because I saw it, but it was brief.
no, they were literally sitting down, and the dude walked past them and started banging on some stuff on the corner. And then the
Mhm.
couple gets up, and then they start walking towards her building because he was dropping her off to her apartment. So instead of crossing the street, they walk literally towards the man who's banging on some garbage cans or whatever. And I'm like, why are you walking that way? That dude is obviously off.
And us, we be like, I ain't fucking with this dude, man.
Yeah,
You know,
Absolutely, and
easy.
that's the point.
Yep.
All three of us being from New York, we understand the nuances of the streets and the nuances of New York. Like, if I was there with my girl and I saw that situation, we both be like, "All right, babe, we about to get up out of here." You know what I mean? And yeah, I would have no problem defending her against it, but I'm not going to put myself in that situation. You know what I mean? Now, the problem you have with white people again, what people were saying is that they don't understand the nuances of New York.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Like, they don't understand, like, okay, if I go down this particular, like, one of the things that I used to do, like when I used to get lost, I'm messing around with whomsoever. I'm lost, probably in the Bronx. It's 2 a.m. One of the things I'm not doing, I'm looking for wherever the train is. One of the things I'm not doing is asking for directions.
Oh, you don't want to be lost in the Bronx. You don't want to look
you
lost.
go to the grocery store. You go to the grocery store and get directions.
Exactly. Yo, you know where blah 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 is? I'm not asking anybody for directions because the moment I ask for somebody with directions, so you're not from around here, dog.
There's no
Right.
You're not from around here, homie, and that's how it spirals. But you have to understand the nuances,
Yeah.
the streets.
Well,
You know what I mean? To
nothing
survive.
good happens after 2 a.m.
that's right. Listen,
Nothing.
in the beginning, I don't know if you caught it, Crazy Legs. That's exactly what I said. I said, and I've been in times where when I see something like that happen, I'm going, if I'm with a person or not, I'm starting to head the other way. It happened to me. I was around during the carnival time. I was drinking and I was, I was coming down from being drunk, but I was walking from my friends going, and I knew where my car was. So I was walking alone. And I do have a decent amount of street smarts, and I'm watching because I know that if you're walking alone during carnival time, Mardi Gras time frame, people know that people are drunk and people are looking for people walking alone. And I remember I was walking, I saw these two dudes at a door, and they caught my eye. They were just outside of a store, and all of a sudden I saw them like kind of trail me. So I just got on my phone, and then I kind of stopped, and they were stopping over here, and I'm acting like I'm calling Uber or whatever. And then they start to walk that way, and I take off the other way. I don't run, but I just like, okay, I'm gonna go this way because I knew they were looking. That was a mark. I was by myself. So this guy didn't have that. This guy, I would have done exactly what Crazy Leg said. I would have said, "Hey, girl, let's head. I don't care if your apartment's just 2 blocks down. Let's go this way."
Hey,
Right, and honestly, that's a tactical maneuver. So a lot of times people have to think a form of retreating is getting a better footing. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you're running as far as fear. You're actually maybe getting in a better strategic position, and you're walking into a situation, and it's better to walk around and maybe take a longer walk. And honey, let's take a stroll. Let's go around the corner really quick. If you want to just save your ego in the moment. So just, I mean, for people just to have a general ability of discernment,
Mm-hmm.
let's take a walk really quick, babe. I want to go over here and check something out. And take the longer way home versus trying to walk through here and like, I'm not scared. He doesn't affect me. Yeah, okay.
I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. I'm going.
That's a great point. That's a great point, Brother Ish, because a lot of men would feel, they'll start peacocking and like, fuck that, I'm gonna keep walking. If it was me and any of my New York guys, we would have been like, you seen that nigga? Yup. You see that? So you wouldn't have to do that with me, but Ish, if you're walking with a woman in that situation, what would you specifically do in that situation with your training? You've actually done security. Would you do exactly what you just said, or will you take other precautions or measures or whatever?
I mean, you take other precautions and measures. You walk the path of least resistance. Even when you deal with, every assassination attempt has happened on its egress when your
Mm-hmm.
people are going out from somewhere or going to somewhere. So Ronald Reagan, Robert Kennedy. I mean, I could run down the list. But so when you're preparing for security, you're thinking about movement, quickest point from point A to point B, where
Mm-hmm.
where you don't have a lot of open air access time is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
So
There's also who's the target because you could
there's
be with a
that too.
you can protect a lot of people by getting away from them because you know they're after you. So
Right.
look, I've been shot at 7 times. I had somebody pull out a shotgun on me and my girl one time,
New
and I
York, baby.
yeah, right there on 100th Street in Amsterdam.
Mm.
And I knew the dude knew my girl, so I know she was never in danger. I pushed her away and drew the attention towards me. Of course, I had to dip. I had nothing on me, but I made sure she was safe. I mean, she was in front of her building, and this is like I don't know how old everyone is, but there was a time when there was a gang called the Ball Busters in New York. It was a
Mm-hmm.
big Dominican gang and we had like a big citywide beef with them, and it was just like, they tried to kill me several times,
Mm.
but sometimes I took a loss, and sometimes, some dudes went downstairs, and it's all right, you
Absolutely.
know.
I like that. I
Absolutely.
like that. They went
Everybody,
downstairs.
and I don't think I'm, and no, I don't think anybody's trying to create this idea. Hopefully, that you're not getting this. That you're supposed to be Superman in the moment. No, the best thing that guy could have did was just took his girl and went across the street.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because by going towards that situation, don't go towards that problem unless you're ready for what happens. You're not equipped for what's going to happen, bro. And by the fact that you going there and showing that you're not equipped, now you put yourself in harm's way. And what if he killed her too? You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? What if he murdered both of them? You know what I mean? You created that situation. You could have avoided it. Look, man, I've been in situations where I was outnumbered. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
have nothing on me, and 5 or 6 of them had everything on them. What am I going to do? It's not a John Wick movie, okay?
Right.
You know what I
There's
mean?
like,
Throw
Real,
your coat and block a bullet.
real quick,
Like,
you
come on.
know,
real quick commercial break. My nephew wants to say hello to Crazy Legs.
what up, Ray?
That's fire.
He wants to say hello to Crazy Legs. So there you go.
They
Um,
tried to stab me one time, and I had my sheepdog on. And first thing I did was wrap my sheepskin around my whole arm and fight it off. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Because I was kind of cornered, and thankfully, shit worked out in my favor. But the dude probably didn't have the quick street smarts to like think like, okay, well, is there something I could wrap around my arm at least block somehow? That's the first. Somebody pulls out on me. If I got a jacket on, I'm wrapping up my arm.
right.
Because that's a good way to block.
Mhm. Someone did make a point in the chat. Sometimes you're with a girl who'd be like, "You scared or something?" What happens when you're with a woman who's like, "I know
Push
you
her in
ain't
front of the
scared."
push her in front of the knife.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Push her.
Exactly.
Tell her, listen, I can run faster than you. So
I don't got to get away from them. I just got to get away from you.
Obviously, she's the problem.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Holy shit!
You know.
A shout out to Miss Ruth. She says, "Crazy Legs, your performance at Yankee Stadium for the 50th was amazing. Salute, sir."
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
Miss
Miss
Ruth.
Ruth.
I appreciate it.
All
This
right.
is like the only show I ever go on. I
Ah,
don't
see,
I
it's the
don't
block, baby.
I think I've done one other show maybe with your
Well,
boy.
who
I
gang? Go
forgot
on.
his name. The other
Okay.
one, the
Star?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh
That guy.
yeah, yeah, and that was even via me. Remember, you was like, I was like, you want to jump on his 3-way legs?
Those are interviews I'd rather have in front of a person's face because
Right, yeah, yeah.
whatever. I don't want to get into it.
You are that way. You are that way. Salute to you in that way. So let's Crazy Legs. He be acting all shy and cute and humble. Crazy Legs will go upside your head, right, Legs?
Hey, let me tell you, by the age of 17, I was leading a crew of 500 people in the streets.
Shit.
And what's really odd to me, and the crazy thing is that it's because whatever, I was the ghetto celebrity but there were when I think about how old I was, and then there were like people who were like 4 years older than me into their 20s and following me. I think about it now, I'm like, those motherfuckers are stupid. Like what is a 21-year-old dude following a 17-year-old dude around for, and we got beef all over New York City.
Wow.
Yeah,
It happened.
You know,
It happened.
I'm wondering this though. Because listen, Erica saw her friend get shot up in Colombia.
Mhm.
I know many people that have seen people get hurt, and then I wonder like with this guy, like he didn't react because like I don't know what you got. I don't know if when you see that stuff, you know what can happen, and you're more apt to do something before it happens to you. I don't know, because to me, I'm looking at him thinking he wasn't expecting to get.
sometimes it's because we do the same shit. I was a stick-up kid when I was, so I know, like you could read the room. That dude did not know how to read the street, and he walked right into it.
Right
And
into it.
yeah,
Right
yeah,
into it.
you
Matter of
know,
fact, if they would have stayed sitting, the guy probably would have kept walking, doing his crazy thing. But they walked right into him. They should have just like fell back, like, nah, I'm not going over there. Let's see what this dude is doing. But again, might be a little saucy, just left a wedding. The girl looked like she was off. She looked like she was like, what's happening? Get on the phone, dial 911, do something.
and she's still alive, right?
Very much so. Very much still alive. But shout out to my first cousin who was also murdered, and he was protecting his woman, right? And she's still alive, right? My cousin
Mm.
is gone.
She might have lined him up.
Hey, fellas,
No, she didn't line him up.
we got the short
Insurance
end of the stick,
policy.
man.
No,
Guys got the short end
not
of the
funny,
stick.
and no. Say again, Lex.
We got the short end of the stick.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Remember that
Lex, you
white
said
girl?
something that was very interesting, and it's something that we kind of miss a lot of times. A person's inherent leadership abilities, are something that we don't always clearly identify because of our stature in society.
Mhm.
But Muammar Gaddafi took over Libya at 27 years old. You know what I mean? So it's like, so that he was a ruler of a country.
Mhm.
So your ability, if you have those innate abilities, that's something just to key in on, and just to not, people are not necessarily stupid. They just recognize something in you. At the end of the day.
Very
Yeah,
true.
yeah, I agree. But we were a problem, bro. We were living double lives.
Right. Of course.
So I agree with
I mean, we go on tour, spend all our money, be hungry when we get back. Like, yo, we gotta go catch a Vic. Let's go. You know?
Look, I got stabbed running around with Scoop, Scrap, and Cliff Love
Oh,
at the New Music Seminar. So, and it was all
what
because
year?
of Lazy Legs.
Who's that?
Lazy Legs. He used to manage MOP.
Oh, Lays. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, ladies.
So
Oh,
we
That's
were
my dude.
all like, we were all coming out after the New Music Seminar to go get something to eat at like 3 a.m, and they wanted to play Knockout. I'm from the West Coast. I don't even know what Knockout is. I ended up catching the steel in the chest. So so I get it. I mean, I know that we're all doing something in the industry. You know what I'm saying? To and we should be looking in other directions. But we're still who we are at the end of the day. We're a byproduct where we come from.
What about all you dumbass rappers?
Okay, let's segue into that.
The stupidity. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Okay, so let's talk about this, because I know I'm gonna catch heat for this, right? People are gonna be like, "You're victim shaming," but are rappers responsible for their own death? When we think about Tupac, PNB Rock, when we think about XXXTentacion, when we think about Biggie, when we think about Pop Smoke, the list goes on and on and on. I'll be here all night if I talk about, you know what I mean, rappers that ended up on the wrong side of a bullet. When we think about Nipsey Hussle, a lot of these guys have survivor's guilt. They go back to the hood, or they brag about where they are, and they're bragging to people who have nothing. So do you think that these rappers, when the list I just gave, and even the ones that I didn't give, because there's tons of rappers who are dying, it's like hip hop and rap is the deadliest music genre. Crazy Legs, I know you hate them together. You separate them. You're saying that.
That's not true. What I do
Okay,
is
correct
because
me.
no matter what element you do in hip hop, you could still not be in hip hop. You know, you could just be really good at dancing and not care about the rest. You could be a dope uh, record creator, but not care about the rest. What I'm saying is that, like a lot of people who are saying that, let's say for instance, Ice Cube back in the days when I first met Ice Cube, it was New Music Seminar. I met him at New Music Seminar at the Marriott Marquis,
Mm-hmm.
and he it was his first time being around hip hop, like no, like people who are into culture, like art, dance, everything. And he literally told me, like, this when he went solo, and he said, I don't really know anything about hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciated that because at least he was honest. He knew he wasn't hip hop, and he asked me to send him some stuff to teach him.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, he knew he wasn't hip hop. A lot of these other people aren't really hip hop. They're just recording artists. They're dope. They're talented. They're doing all that, but maybe they came from the drug game too, and they didn't really pull out of that game, and they're trying to drag that life into their career. And come on, man, it's like, look, if I would have gotten caught doing what I was doing back in the days as a b-boy, as a hip hopper, I know I would have deserved it. And there were
Mm-hmm.
times that I did deserve a beat down,
Mm-hmm.
because I know the trouble I was causing in the streets with my boys. So for me to sit here and say somebody, some, it would have been victim shaming if I would have gotten knocked. I can't agree with that because I know what I was
Watch your
doing.
mics. What the fuck was that?
A, a lot of
Watch your mics.
people, a lot of people aren't honest about the life that they're still living while they're rapping, and then when they get
Mm-hmm.
hemmed up, oh man, what happened to him? Like, that's not fair. Oh, this dude forever. Like, come on, man. He wasn't even trying to be forever. He was trying to live two lives. You live two lives. One of them is going to win.
That's a good point.
Yes, sir.
I look at it like this. Sound is energy transference, and particularly amongst ethnic people, we usually transmit the way we feel and the way we think in the world that we create through sound. Like, if a motherfucker really got a problem with you with how they sound when they address you. When someone feels something for you, a romantic feeling, when based on how they say your name. You know what I mean? Even mantras and daily ideas that you put into your head, they tell you, if you don't sound as if you believe this, it's not going to work. And when you go out into the world and you make these songs, like picture Hit 'Em Up, if the music, same lyrics, but if the music sounded like some Disney shit, sounded like some Kids Bop shit, it would sound absolutely fucking ridiculous. Nobody would take it seriously because it's like,
True.
this doesn't sound violent. This sounds stupid. Like, you know what I mean? They would throw it away. However, you throw these booming basses, violent images, rough tones, people sounding like they actually want to kill another person, and you throw that intention, all of that creates that dark energy. And when you start creating that dark energy and you're dealing with a side of people who are just as violent, see, this is the problem. This is the problem. When you start creating these situations, you forget that you're pointing it towards a bunch of people who have no problem retaliating.
Mm.
I call it theatrical thuggery.
Well, it's funny because we did discuss last night that Tupac was essentially a poser, right? He was an arts kid. He was a actor. He was a poet. He was a ballet dancer. And then he got with Death Row and he became quite the thug, but he played, what I said
But
yesterday,
he was protected.
right. You
That
mean
was
Death
somebody's
Row.
investment. That was someone's investment. You know,
Absolutely.
dudes get bravery in certain situations that
Mm-hmm.
in a way that they would never be if they were alone.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know? So I mean, look, Takashi 69. He was working in a market, right? They turned him into something he wasn't even trying to be, and then they're mad at him because he snitched. It's like, dude, he wasn't about that life in the first place.
Right.
You made a bad investment. Like you chose a soft dude. And I don't know, if he got live or anything like that. But
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen dudes. Look, my dude, one of my dudes in Rocksteady was being bullied by someone. He was one of the nicest guys. He was a boxer, but he wasn't a troublemaker. And he got bullied so much, he just started murdering people.
Shit.
So somebody can become that, you know, because they have no choice. But Takashi 69 was working at a supermarket, like on the humble,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought him. They scooped him out of a supermarket to give him a career and turned him into what he was, because he wasn't what he is now.
Mm. Um, Interesting. Something you said, Haran. I don't want to run over real quick. When we talking about lyrics and music and sounds, right? And who it's directed to, you're absolutely right because I can hear fuck your bitch and that click you claim, right? And it does something to me, right? Because I've been through certain things. I got certain trauma. I've been in shit. I fought a gun. It means something to me. And when I hear those words, I'm already thinking of that bitch I don't like and that click I don't like, right? Where no saint could hear the same exact shit and be like, that Tupac is very entertaining. Fuck your bitch
Poetry.
and the click you claim. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
those are some great lyrics.
right. Spin to it. That's a
Right.
spin to it.
Wait. But I do have to say something. I'm trying to think of that.
But I like it.
I'm trying to think of that. I'm trying to think of the song that they used to play. Anyway, listen, we play act too when we hear those guns going off on the records, and we act like we got the gun. we feel all bad for a second, and then you realize. I don't really want that. Like, it's like that. Remember that movie Office Space when the white dude's in there and he's got his rap on. Also, the black dude pulls up next door and he's like locking the door.
Yeah.
Listen, no sense. I'm not putting this on you at all.
Yeah.
I'm not throwing shots at you.
Yeah.
That's the of your privilege. You can do that and go back to your life.
Yeah.
Right.
Tupac, he, everybody else, they throw that energy out there. It's going to go out there where it's supposed to go, and then it's going to come back.
Right.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know about Tupac because listen. Okay.
Wait one second. I just want to fix a point. This is again, yes. A lot of these rappers, especially drill music. Drill music was essentially the core of that. Was the ops were telling the ops where they were at and what they were going to do, basically incriminating themselves. I don't know how you make a whole genre of music incriminating yourself, but anyway, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Axe Blad.
I don't know the sense behind that, but whatever, it is what it is. But what I'm saying is that the music sounds angry. It sounds aggressive.
Right.
It sounds like it has a violent intent behind it. You know what I mean? So again, when you put this energy out, especially when you deal with Black people and brown people and Caribbean people, we are very sensitive to sound. Our people are very sensitive to fucking sound.
So I mean, I've heard you, Haran, talk about how that thrash music, how those people start just getting violent.
Yeah, like mosh pits and all that. I've been in a few, and this motherfucking white boys are insane. But I mean, that shit creates. I've seen people get bloodied in mosh pits and so on, and just it's a part of the culture and so on. So again, you know what I mean? The sound of something matters. So in a sense, yes, those rappers are responsible for their deaths, man.
But what I want to say to what you said about Tupac is, I mean, maybe I'm naive, but to me, like we talked about here before, like you make it, dude. I make it. I'm not. My neighbors know right now. I'm gone, dude. I'm not
Mhm.
coming back to
Well,
my
but hold on. Let me
neighborhood.
say this.
No
It's
survivor's
an
guilt for you? No
No,
it's
survivor's
no,
guilt?
no.
it's an easier dynamic to say that, but there are two things that play in these type of scenarios. Number one, you move out to Walnut. These are like exterior areas of California, and now you're totally excluded from your culture. You're going to Whole Foods and all the different markets. So you're not around your people. You're not around your community. You're not around something that you're normally comfortable in. So now you're in this kind of uncomfortable zone of like exclusivity. And so there are points where you want to go back into your original essence and your environments where you're able to kind of, like they say, the one-eyed man among the blind is king. You want to be in that environment where you're like, oh, there goes to versus when you walk in there like, who's that guy? He must be a rapper. Why is he here? Hold our purses. Like it's just a whole different set of environmental energy. So going back to your community, like even you look at a Nipsey Hussle going back to where he was, and he was on the corner of like Slauson and Crenshaw, which that's like the hub of South Central LA. And he feels like he's comfortable because that's the hood he's from. He knows all the street corners, he knows all the alleys. But at the same time, again, when you're in the midst of a wolf pack, somebody's going to test you at some point.
Right.
And that's just the dynamics between when you have a male wolf versus a female wolf. A female wolf will protect you, a male wolf at a certain point will challenge you if you have them as a pet. So that's the same dynamic in the environment. Okay, yeah, okay, you're all this, you got all that, but let me see, can you still get down like we get down? We're still in the streets grinding this thing out, and so you calling me out for being a snitch. Oh, okay, well I'm gonna show you what I am, and then I'm a gangster. Bang, and
So
that's
Legs,
just the sad mentality. Sorry.
I want to ask you, would you say if would this statement be correct? Hip hop is the most violent music genre in existence, literally and figuratively, because it's the music genre that has the most deaths the most frequently. When you think about country, rock, jazz, I mean, they're not getting picked off like that. What would you say to that?
Again, here's the thing. Most of those dudes you're talking about, they may use the word hip hop, but they're not hip hop. And I get definitions may change with words, but for us, like for me, when I hear those dudes, I hear about these dudes dying, I'm like, I look into them. I'm like, they're not even into hip hop. It's just a gangster dude who could rap well. I don't consider them a cultural person because anyone who's really into hip hop is dealing with like, the concept of peace, unity, love, and having fun. And even if they're not there yet, it's on their minds. Because even when that idea was introduced to us by Bambaataa, we were like still doing shit. Like Bam's old boys were robbing banks and shit like that. And Zulu Nation's putting out songs that say peace, unity, love, and having fun. And the people doing it are on the front page of the post because they robbed the bank, you
Mm,
know. But they were hip hop.
mm.
Those dudes that were robbing the bank, they were actually hip hop too, and that was so Sonic Force. But these dudes, put it this way, when it comes to like celebrating hip hop for the 50th, are you really thinking about those dudes as hip hop? Hell, fucking no. Ain't
No,
nobody looking
I'm
at
trying to think of the
those.
list. I don't think when well, I don't know when you think of because automatically to your question, I said no, right in my mind. But then I'm like, is that fair to exclude Nipsey Hussle, Pop Smoke, X? Is it fair to exclude them from hip hop?
Absolutely. Absolutely. What did they do? What did they do besides rap that was for the whole culture? What did they push? Now, was Nipsey a good person? Absolutely. Did he do shit for the community? Absolutely. Should he be celebrated for that? Absolutely. Did he give? I mean, I don't, and I can't speak to his full thing. I didn't even know much about him when he died because
Mhm,
whatever, I'm older. I'm not really following like that.
mhm,
But I mean, some of these dudes, when it comes, so you gotta remember, some of these dudes that you're talking about, they
mhm,
say fuck all that hip hop shit. But when they reference themselves as rappers, they'll say hip hop. But if they're gonna think about me, they ain't fucking with me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm too hip hop for them.
See,
You got a point.
I see both sides of the situation here, and I understand fully and agree with what Legs is saying because hip hop really, honestly, because I'm ahead. You know what I mean? I fell in love when back in like '86, and I loved all sections of it, the b-boying, the graph work. I was into illustration. You know what I mean? DJing. You know what I mean? Bombing, all of that. But the
That
problem,
alone is your hip hop.
yeah,
That's
the problem the problem is that there was, because in the beginning, here's a little bit of history for those who don't know or too young to understand. In the beginning, it was the DJ was here and the MC was here. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that dude was carrying the DJ's crates and shit like that. But at some point in time, it became the MC rose above everyone else because there was a money factor attached to that.
right.
Now you
Mm-hmm.
see that money factor that's attached to this MC. Well, here's where things get kind of tricky because then it became a situation that not only could they sell the MC, they could sell and make a profit off of the stigmas and the violent perceptions of black men that were
And that's
perpetuated,
by the way, 92 KTU.
not perpetuated not only us,
92
and,
KTU.
but mainly perpetuated by the media. So there was this thing that was taken from the culture and it was used as a component to damage much of our community. I will stand by that.
Yep.
With that said, really quickly, commercial break. If you're enjoying the show, Cash App the lady on the block with Jen Cash App or super chat us right in the chat. With that said, if who's responsible for that, Haran?
Our people are responsible for that because let me tell you something.
Because people say the labels. It's the labels. The labels are pushing out the labels. Is it?
It's twofold. Okay, it's twofold. In the beginning, I can't really come down on like the dudes who did first. Like, I can't come down on the Canes. I can't come down on Rakim. I can't come down on that generation because, I mean, everybody was fucking broke, man. I mean, everybody was doing their thing. You know what I'm saying? Everybody, and there came a time where people was just throwing money at motherfuckers who came from poverty, absolute poverty. Okay.
Okay.
You go through you come from a situation where y'all know what it is. You sharing a fucking box with 10 fucking people to motherfuckers giving you like 10, 20,000 a show or some shit like that. You know what I mean? It's easy to just gravitate to this. It was so much to it and everything was moving so fast. But there came a time where it's like, we don't have to do this anymore. We don't have to agree to that anymore. You know what I mean? Okay, you got the first generation or two of us, but there should have came a time where we said, okay, enough. And damn it, if you're just going to just say, okay, you could even stop it at Big and Pac and say, okay, let's just stop it at here. There really is it really isn't necessary for us to continue this bullshit after that.
What do you think about Special Ed's comments? He said NWA started the demise of hip hop.
I heard someone say something else too that I kind of believed with it too. He said he agreed with Special Ed, but he also said Wu-Tang helped out too.
Hey, but you know what?
Shit, Wu-Tang was talking that violent shit.
But you know what? We could take it back in the days with the Decepticons running around the street, Alpo,
Absolutely.
you know, all Chicky, Flex, all these dudes who are running shit in New York and moving weight and were the real kings of what was going on.
We're losing your sound, Legs. We're losing your sound for some reason.
So it's kind of
Okay.
So look, if you want to take it to the DNA.
Yeah, we're losing you, and we need to hear you.
Damn, it was about to get interesting as hell.
Yeah, now we lost you completely. God damn it!
He's changing. He just changed.
Yeah.
Just check it
Wasn't
out.
me.
Hold on, hold on.
Well,
Oh, it says unmute.
there you go.
Yay!
There you
Right.
go.
Yeah.
Correct.
So if you take it to the DNA, I mean, I grew up around a lot of violence, and everyone that I knew in hip hop was about violence. But I'm also a dude who grew up without a father, and I never had a mentor.
Mhm.
So when we start to blame us, we also have, yeah, you could blame us for a lot of shit, but you also have to keep in mind that we come from a very dysfunctional situation, broken homes, domestic violence, all kinds of shit, man.
Yeah.
And you know, and I'll give you an example. My father raised five kids, raised none of us, and then I was bitter about that. He even ended up taking care of a family on the second floor. We lived on the first floor while my mom's was going through domestic violence because of another man. Now we're starving and on welfare, bad situation, and that's the environment I lived in. You know, I couldn't ask my father for anything because he was taking care of another family right upstairs from us. So
Sheesh.
where does that leave a person like myself? You know, and if I'm, you know, the dudes who started Rocksteady Crew were two of the most notorious stick-up kids in the Bronx, to the point where one of them ended up in prison and he ran Rat Hunters. Like he was the dude running Rat Hunters. That's how live his shit was for decades. And I don't know if you know what Rat Hunters is, but they're system wide.
What is rat hunters?
Rat Hunters, they get all the snitches. They pull your paperwork and they get all the snitches.
Ooh, shit.
You get stabbed up, they air you out. That's just, and
It's
that's
like
one of the dudes who created Rocksteady, Jimmy Lee. And you know, so even my other dude, like the dude that was my idol, is a dude named B-Boy Spy. This was like the first superhero of B-Boys. He ended up going to prison. He just got out, finished doing like 27, you know, and he was running nietas throughout the system. You
How
know,
about the
so but
nietas?
these are all dudes that I met when I was a kid, and they were all stick up kids. And as soon as I met them, the first thing they brought me to do was go do a stick up. And I was only like 13, 14. So it's just a cycle of bullshit, And then you got to take that into the social, economic situation, education, everything that the government is doing and what we're born into and how they make sure that we stay in that situation. And there's blame to be thrown all around. Yeah, are we killing ourselves? Yeah. Would we if we were born into a different situation? Probably not.
True. I would
I
have been really quickly, Ron. Thank you so much for the super chat. Miss Ruth says, good content tonight. Love the block. Always a pleasure to see Crazy Legs on the panel. Thank you so much, Miss Ruth. Okay, that was
Yeah.
the
Tell Miss
ladies.
Ruth that she spent the 20 to the wrong thing.
Speaking of gentlemen, you have to match that. You have to match that super chat. The lady was the first one with the super chat of the night. I need the guys to match that. Thank you so much, Miss Ruth. We appreciate you.
Here's the thing. Coming from where we come from, I don't know your background, Legs, but I know Jen's.
It's pretty shitty.
Well, we both come from New York and back in the 80s and the 90s and before.
So 70s for me.
Exactly, the 70s. So you're shitty shit. So okay, so we understand this. But our parents to some degree, or the ones our loved ones, we can sit there and say that we lived in a world that came from a space of desperation and survival. That's what New York was back then. And in some ways, your family or your parents, hopefully, were trying to put you or at least steer you in the direction of you having a choice or putting yourself in a situation where you don't have to repeat the traditions of desperation and survival. You know what I mean? And I think that there was a time in hip hop that, yeah, we were moving from a space of desperation and survival because that's all we knew.
Mm-hmm.
Responding in that. And sometimes we were acting violently and doing certain things because that's all we knew. But however, it reached to a point of popularity and money and affluence where it's just like, okay, you next generation of motherfuckers don't have to act like you're moving from a space of desperation and survival because you come from better homes. You come from second, you know what I mean? You come from middle class spaces. Why are you moving like that? They're moving from a space of wanting to be seen and gaining popularity. And that's different. Those are different incentives.
And let me add to that point, because I agree with you on that point, because you still, even if you talk about Eazy-E, I knew Eazy-E's mom, and he came from a middle class, hardworking environment. You know, he chose to get involved in the streets. He chose to get into the dope, and he was actually, I mean, he was slanging dope, but he had an option. And like Jen said last night, the thug life is attractive. You have the girls, you have the the hyper masculinity, you have the authority in the environment. You don't want to say, hey, my mom works over here at the post office and my dad does this, that, and the other. Like, you want to claim that you're tough and the whole nine, so you get involved in the street activity and the street environment so that you can now be, the attractive individual in the neighborhood. That's the dynamics of it. So you're right on one aspect of it. And, looking at somebody like Tupac, who didn't have a gang background, who, went from Baltimore to Oakland and had, this kind of conscious background. And when he was with Digital Underground was more, the Afrocentric style. But when he got around, the Pyrus, then it was a whole different energy. And that's another aspect of your own masculine identity. You're around other men, and now they're aggressive and they're strong, and you never had a father figure in your life. So now you want to be this man and change a whole different perspective of how you've been perceived. And so now that's why he was always fighting at every situation. Anytime I saw Pac out, he was always getting a scrap on somewhere. He was hoppy. And I always knew that an individual that's always hoppy to fight is the most insecure.
Legs, who would you say as of late, as far as rappers that are out now, are hip hop, or is that a thing of the past? Are there any rappers that are young now that are doing it and you're like, that kid is hip hop, that girl is hip hop? Is there anyone, or is that something that doesn't really exist anymore?
Oh man, I like Armani White.
Never even heard of him.
Yeah, he's the one that did that Billie Eilish song. And then I like J. Cole. I like Kendrick Lamar, but that's also like, it's a different style. If you're talking about shit, it's funny. If you look at somebody like Drake, the way they get on him, Drake actually knows a lot about hip hop more than most rappers. But they try to look at him sideways, but he actually comes from a neighborhood of people that actually grew up in hip hop. So when Drake does this party every year around the time of Caravana in Toronto, and it's pure hip hop. It's nothing even close to what he does. What he does is an event that is for the underground, for the purists, and it's singers, it's rappers, it's dancers, it's all kinds of dope shit. So Drake is actually elevating hip hop.
And he gets called the corny one. That's interesting, because he gets called the corny one.
Right, but he's being called corny by the people who don't do anything. And I was at the event. I went last year, and I was blown away. I was like, yo, this is fucking dope. Like, this shit is, what New York should have been.
I remember he brought on Stevie Wonder on stage once, and the crowd really didn't know they didn't connect with it. They didn't understand. And it just showed the disconnect between this generation and what we've done before. They just couldn't give that man any reference. And Drake stepped in and basically said, hey, yo, respect this man. And if Stevie wanted to step on any stage and a motherfucker not, pay homage, is wild to me.
Bad Bunny does that a lot. He pays homage to the older artists, and he'll pull them on stage. So it forces the young people to be like, who's Olga Tañón? Who's Hector Lavoe? He forces like the quote unquote old heads on the young people. Like, you love me? Well, this is where we came from. And I think that's absolutely amazing.
But Bad Bunny also puts on younger people, because he put on young Miko. I don't know if you know who she is, from Puerto Rico. I do.
Yep.
And she was virtually unknown. I knew about her. I was going to book her for my event. But when I went, but Bad Bunny ended up using her and
Mm.
blew her up. So
So
as
now
much, again,
yesterday's price is
people
not
get on
today's
Bad
price.
Bunny's case, but Bad Bunny is pulling people up. And he's also, Bad Bunny is an all-inclusive kind of dude.
Yep.
He's a little ambiguous with his life.
Hey,
But
lay off
I
that.
mean, you know, I mean, that could also be, I mean, I know enough about him to know that what he's doing out there. And I'm not going to say I know him personally, but I
Right.
know people in the circle. And there's a lot of marketing going on. And he's smart. He's smart. He's taking risks. He's smart.
Extremely smart. Like people are like,
Lex,
why
can I
is he
ask
with?
you?
People are like, why is he with Kendall Jenner? I was like, come on. Why do you think these are the most famous bitches on the planet? Why not?
Do you think Richard Gere and Cindy Crawford were married because they loved each other?
I mean, I heard a few things about Richard Gere, so you know.
Hey,
Gerbil.
hey.
Hey,
I'm just saying.
hey,
When
Legs.
you
I
have
have a question for
unasked
Legs. I have
information,
a
yeah,
question for you, Legs. Do you believe that the conspiracy theory that's been circulated around that the promotion of gangster rap was intentional and the suppression of like the is what of real hip hop music and real hip hop um, ideology and identity, it was intentional from higher ups in the record industry or the entertainment industry?
it was literally from what's the guy's name that used to run Hot 97? And he used to circulate a list of what not to play anymore, who not to play anymore.
Mm.
So that's it's actually a fact. It's not even a conspiracy because I knew Angie Martinez before she worked at the station because she was best friends with my girl at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I'm not saying she's the one who told me, but you know, I knew Flex. I know Flex. I know all these people, and you know, you sit down and you speak to them like, yeah, I can't play that because they'll fire me or whatever. You can't. It's just that simple.
Program directors.
Yeah, this program, Steve Smith. That's his name, Steve Smith.
Where is he
Mm.
now? What is he in charge of?
I don't know, some white colony. I don't know.
No, Saint, where's Steve Smith? Come on, give it up.
I thought he was going to the Hall of Fame for the Carolina Panthers. I don't know.
That's another Steve Smith.
Yeah, but he was controlling what a white guy was controlling black music and who could play what and who couldn't. Look, put it this way: when I throw any events in New York, I've thrown a lot of events, whether it be the Manhattan Center, the Pier 54 on the West Side, and whenever I would go to get insurance, I had to play with the words. So because if I put Nas on there on my insurance, if I put Wu-Tang, they were blacklisted. A lot of MOP blacklisted. So because I saw rap as music that was sampled by funk and soul, I would put on my insurance funk and soul music because if it ever got to the technical aspect of it in court, they were sampling funk and soul and jazz and stuff like that. So I don't want to say I lied on my insurance because the music that rappers were sampling was, you know, it's multicultural because you had AC/DC that was
Funk and
being
soul.
sampled as well.
Yeah.
So there was a block. There was a big list that they gave me. If you have these, you're not getting insurance.
So what do you think? I understand where the question that Ish was saying. So you're saying there's definitely was things that were told to be played and what not to be played.
Yes.
So
absolutely.
what's your, do you have any knowledge on why certain things were played and why certain things weren't played?
A lot of times it was because they didn't want rappers on who they felt were played out. So, you know, I think when it comes to like, you know, how people say, yeah, we celebrate rock, but we don't celebrate our own, or, you know, rock celebrates itself, but we allow people outside of our community to tell us who's no longer relevant. And it's almost like we can't celebrate them anymore because they're not popping. We can't celebrate their contributions. You know, if you look at what happened at Yankee Stadium, all the pioneers went on first when the stadium was almost empty.
Damn,
They weren't
that's
even
disrespectful.
celebrated later on. I mean, I was lucky. I was rocking with Fat Joe, but when I'm looking out in the audience, I'm like, damn, Sugar Hill Gang, Furious Five, all these people up there, Chris Brothers, and there should have been something special, even if it's like, yo, pair up Snoop Dogg with Grandmaster Caz, have them
Right.
create something
Right.
dope.
Mhm.
Right.
See what they
Right.
could come up with and be clever with it. Like, it's like no one's allowed to be creative in a way that allows us to continue pulling up people who laid the foundation.
But when
Yeah,
you
like they
say
did
that
with
there
Amy
was
Winehouse and what was it, Dean Martin? Like
Who?
that kind of Amy Winehouse when she did that record with, I think it was Dean
Tony
Martin.
Bennett. Tony Bennett.
Tony Bennett, right?
Yeah.
Like that type of man. I see what you're
Yes,
saying.
exactly.
when you say a white man in charge of black music, isn't that still the case with hip hop today?
It shouldn't be, because if you have all these dudes talking about their hip hop moguls, it's like if they were hip hop moguls, like, first of all, you got to care about hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are moguls and they're just looking out for themselves and whatever. That's fine. That's your prerogative. But a lot of people don't care. They just don't care. A lot of people are rich, and it's like they came out of the hood, and it's like, fuck that. I'm getting out of the hood. I'm out of here.
It's kind of like what happened at Raucous. Raucous was a backpack hip hop movement at a certain point, but it was run by two white boys from Brown University, and
But you
they
know who
were.
one of those guys was, right?
Yeah, it was was Rupert Murdoch's
Yes.
nephew or son or something like that.
His
Brian
son.
and Jared.
Yep.
Son, right.
Yeah. I met that dude back in the days, and I didn't realize it was him until I watched Succession. I was like, oh shit,
Right.
I know that dude.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but see, and that's the dynamic. Their lack of caring for, because they had some great records at that time. You had Mos Def's, Umi Says, like that's still an iconic record at the time. They couldn't get any radio, no real airplay. You had, and until Pharoah Monch had his record, were they even on Hot 97?
Right. No, I mean, late night.
Right.
The only person really pushing things were Stretch and Bobito.
Right.
I think one of the main things that we forget to acknowledge is that hip hop is really, at its core, began as some artsy shit. Arts kids got involved with it. It wasn't some things that was like, from my perspective, wasn't heavily involved by some sort of criminal element, so on and so forth. There were many of art. Well, I know where you're going with it, Lex. I'm saying the intention of it. The intention of it originally.
That's true. I mean, when you think about the art, graffiti, when you think about b-boying, that's like a dancer.
There was a genesis that happened. That's what
I'm saying. But these were artistic kids. You know what I'm saying? This is the point that I'm making.
Yeah.
They were artistic kids. You know what I mean? Kids with vision, intelligent kids. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth. Now it's a job option for low-skilled workers.
Well, damn. Shots fired.
But it's crazy, but they're naturally gifted. They're gifted with a talent. And it's just a shame because, look, I grew up and did what I did because it was my environment. But after a certain age, I'm like, I'm not a bad dude. I don't want to be, like right now, the idea of stealing something, it disgusts me, and that's how we survived. But it's disgusting to me because I realized I only did that because, there was, go home to an empty refrigerator. My mom go do her shopping, get her welfare check 2 weeks, 2 weeks later, the food's gone. Now you got 2 weeks of hunger every month.
And it's a mentality. It's a behavior that, that the environment kind of cultivates. So when you're talking about the factor that, what is the artsy kids, I mean, we have an abundance of talent in the community, and you didn't have an abundance of music programs, dance programs that were going on in the hood. So it was just, it sprouted up from the people. So you had that. But then, going back to what he was saying, you had the group Guy that was on Pump It Up with D Barnes, and they were stealing on camera. Like they're shoplifting on camera on the episode. So it's like it's an aspect of the culture and the environment. Like you can take the kid out of the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out of the kid. Like there's a certain aspect of truth to that. So the homogenous, like I said, the genesis or the homogenization of criminality and art entertainment was just because they were just strange bedfellows. They were just it was just a constant cross mixing that was happening on because the Black Spades was where Bambaataa came from. It came from a gang environment. He wanted to shift the direction of everything, and he saw talent and pulled it out from there. Just like certain cats went into athletics, Jim Brown and all them, but they were all gang members in their day.
Legs, what do you think about, really quick, what do you think about this comment here? It was always funded by drug dealers. Was hip hop always funded by drug dealers? You were there in the 70s.
No, that's bullshit.
Okay.
Can I have something? So, you know what I find fascinating, like listening to where Crazy Legs came from and the origins of hip hop. And I think about, again, Erica and where she came from and from poverty, eating off dirt floors and things like that. And what you realize is like these things are going to always morph into less and less of a organic creative thing. Just like when you talk about rock back in the day when they were writing their own music, as soon as it makes money, the corporations get in and the creativity and the origins just get messed up, get muddied, right? So and that's why, like, you may have someone who's really creative, like Erica. She could, you don't know how many the things she can do that I would have, because that was out of necessity. When she was growing up, she made her own toys. She did this, she did that. Once you are a few generations out of poverty, I hate to say it, man, you get a lot less creative. I mean, it's just kind of the truth. And with hip hop, and I'm thinking rock, the creativity with it's kind of two different things conflating, but the corporations get into it and then they kind of take over. Okay, this is what sells. This is what we're going to do. And the creativity is just killed in all these genres.
So hip hop was colonized, is what you're saying.
Yeah, money colonized.
So the interesting factor about it is that, in the beginning, when we talk about, Bambaataa and so on, you have on the front, there's this music that's about fun, engagement, and creativity, and so on. And behind that, it's been made by people who have violent backgrounds, and so on and so forth. But now on the front, there's this violent image, and on the back end of that, these motherfuckers come from neighborhoods. They come from well-off backgrounds. They come from worlds after move from desperation. So it's this strange thing. But I want to say something about rock, though. The funny thing about rock, though, is that there are not a lot of bands out there like that now, you know what I mean? And one of the main reasons is why rock, in a sense, garage band rock and so on, the instruments were somewhat affordable, working man affordable. You know what I mean? Guitars were like maybe $100, $200. These fucking things are like $600, $700. You know what I mean? The price of being in a rock band now, you'd have to be a middle class, upper class kid. So the concept of, that's going to affect the music. How is a kid like that who comes from that world going to make how's he going to be Bruce Springsteen? How's he going to be fucking, Kurt Cobain? He's not from a particular world where there's drudgery and so on and so forth. It's going to be at best, he's probably going to make shit like Gene Simmons. You know what I'm saying?
So that's why I think let's not go too far from the weeds into instrumentation. I do want to keep it on hip hop. So I think that's why I say the era of homegrown grassroots hip hop is over, in my opinion. I think it was a time, it was an era, it was beautiful, but I don't think it's ever going to go back to that when you have someone like Ice Spice bending over, talking about someone ate her pussy, and a year later, she's opposite Ben Affleck. So it's a whole different world now. That girl didn't have to struggle and go through the shit and go hungry. All she had to do was talk about her vagina, and now you're up with, you know what I mean? The Watts have taken over, all the way over, when you can put Ice Spice next to a Ben Affleck selling Dunkin' Donuts in 12 months only because she spoke about her vagina. So I think that era is over. Can we get somebody youngins to respect, you know what I mean, the icons, and pull them up and pull them in like Drake and what have you, you know? But I just think I think it's morphed into something else, and it's not going to go back. That's my
I
opinion.
give
But
you
You know what?
before you, let me really quickly, let me acknowledge the super chat before you respond. Thank you for the super chat, Fahim Jackson. Fahim Jackson says, I wonder if PDs of radio shows were given financial compensation to play certain music for labels to increase traction for what they want to succeed. Yeah, of course.
It's
It's
I
every,
called
mean,
every,
yeah.
every genre.
Yeah, every genre. But yeah, I would even bear witness to that. I had back in the days I used to rap. I got on this thing called Whacker to Track It. You know, they played it each week. I was winning. I went to the program director of Katie. I'm like, I'm on Whacker to Track It. I'm winning each week. When can I get added to at least light rotation? He was like, bro, there's 7 labels that I have to deal with. You're not one of them. And that was the end of the conversation. So that kind of put a bullet in my career. But going back to what you were saying, Jen, I'm always jammed up for being very hopeful and Pollyanna in my aspirational perspectives of
You
things.
very
But,
much are Pollyanna.
but in truth, the I don't think that it's a downward trajectory spiral for hip hop. I think that there are moments that can, as long as there are those that, as they say, true believers that come out there and push the genre and push the principles, the youth gravitate towards that. My daughter is into jazz and she sings for Esperanza Spalding. She heard that from my grandfather. I mean, from my father playing jazz all the time. So she fell in love with jazz. The same with hip hop. I find that, with different, as other people discover the beauty of it and discover the energy of it and discover the truth of it, that there will be another generation that comes from that is there to kind of, reclaim its identity. So I don't think that it's a genre or an aspect that's dead or dying. I think that it's just it's cyclical. There'd be points when people look back and say, wow, this was dope. Or wow, I really, enjoy that aspect of peace, unity, love, and having fun. And I'm about that life, and I'm gonna do that. So you see
Thank
it in
you.
the retro dancers.
Thank you, Pollyanna.
Hey,
What
you know
say
what?
you, Crazy Legs?
Check this out. Here's the thing. First of all, I'm 57. And
Go
thankfully I do
ahead.
know I have young people around me as well. So I get to hear new good shit that's out there.
Right,
so
right.
when you think about who you're around at the age that you're at right now, we are not in the lane of bumping into that music if it's already out there. You got to seek it out because the young shorties know. If you ask a young shorty, they're gonna tell you like, "Oh yeah, my man's nice over here." What's that dude from? I think he's from Philly or Virginia. The dude that was on the show with the dreads, and he just bodies that freestyle. Slim Cat.
Who?
I
What show was
don't.
he on? What show?
He's been on all of the shows, but he's just a dope lyricist and he's not spitting nonsense and he's got legit freestyle skills. I actually want to
The cats from Coast, from something Coast.
Yes,
Philly.
yes.
Yeah, Coast. Yeah, I can't remember the name, but it's something Coast. Yeah.
Yes, but that's what we're talking about, and that's like he falls in the lane of like Armani White. Like there are people out there. I think if you check out a label called oh shit, there's a label that the NBA is actually tied into, and what the NBA does is like this label gives them all these new young talented artists, and they use their music for a lot of things. I just forgot the name of the label, but there is a label out there that has that and they're pushing it, and I think you have more of these cult niche followings of artists. And look at how many rappers have died that have a huge following and you never heard of them.
True.
There's
True.
shit out there that's good and bad and we never heard of.
True. I don't think hip hop is dead per se. I just think it's something else now. I think what used to be mainstream is sort of underground now. Like the mainstream now is garbage. It's Sexy Red, it's Ice Spice, it's Cardi B, it's the Sukiyana. I think they've turned that into the mainstream and kind of pushed what used to be mainstream underground in a way. Like, what's J. Cole doing? What's Kendrick doing? Can they get on the cover of Vogue? Ice Spice is on the cover of Vogue.
Do you
Cardi
know
B is
who's
on the cover of
producing
Vogue.
Ice Spice? You know who's producing her?
I have no idea.
DJ Nuff's son. That's her man. Her man is producing her. So her man comes from lineage, which is odd.
Look,
So is that the
Oh, and
connect? Do you
the
think
name,
that's the connect?
That's absolutely the connect.
the name of the
Okay.
group is called Coast Contra.
Yeah, that's what Mr. and Mrs. Sapp just said. Coast Contra.
Yes.
Thank you for that.
They're dope.
Yeah,
and
they are.
there's sprinkles of good acts here and there, but collectively, I think black music in general is just in the fucking toilet.
I mean, if you're looking at singing, yo, we grew up on Shirley Murdoch. We grew up on like Jennifer Holliday. Like, bro, look,
Like
I knew in the 90s because my man runs one of the biggest sound companies in New York. And even with Mary J, we love Mary J. Her heart puts out some passion that is like the pain of women out there, but she ain't the same without that box, that device that corrects her tonality when she sings. She has to be corrected. And I'm not probably gonna catch heat for this right now, but
well, I'll go with you to catch the heat. I never liked her voice. Respect what she's done. Respect the longevity. Love me some Mary. I can't listen to a whole album because I don't like my music yelled to me. That's all.
Over we ain't gonna get into that. Overall, like I don't hear a lot of soul music. I just don't hear I don't hear songs that I can, like, new modern songs that I can say, like, yeah, I can play this at a wedding. You know what I mean? I just don't hear a lot of these things. And this is the first time, like, there's real poverty out there going on right now. There's real social issues going on right now. And right now, black music really is in this space where it's just like, it's not speaking on it. And there's been generations and generations where we speak on the current climate. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily have to be preachy and so on, but black music doesn't do that anymore.
October London.
Well, I'll check it out. I'm not saying that overall. Now, I'm
he's
not
the new Marvin Gaye.
Oh, I gotta write that down. October London, new Marvin Gaye. We gotta check that out then.
I'm not saying that there's nobody, but I'm saying collectively.
Oh yeah, of course. You're right though. That's a fact.
I mean, motherfuckers are fucking the drill music now. Like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's
so going back to, before we close, because we got to close, we can't be here all night. Going back to, our rappers responsible for their own deaths, and we look at, you know what I mean, the Nipsey Hustles and the King Vons and the Pop Smokes, and would you say they're responsible for their own deaths? Are they pushing the same music that ultimately leads to their demise? Is it just a sign of the times? Because it's a lot of deaths back to back to back. Like, it's bad. And it's, you know what I mean, major names and really popular rappers. So what do you think about, before we close, are rappers responsible for their own death? Is it true that music is like chanting and bringing, you know what I mean, death to themselves?
I really think they are, because again, you're talking about an environment that, and I would say even the West Coast has a really strong responsibility when it comes to that, because the gang culture out here is very unique. And it's unique to the degree that, you know, people now feel like they have the necessity to affiliate themselves with crime organizations. And these are crime organizations. And it's like, either you're going to be a criminal or you're going to be an entertainer. And, and if you're an entertainer that's hanging around criminals, you're going to be involved in crime. That's just the bottom line. And that's the dynamic that you have to really be very, very mindful of, because these guys, you know, they're not playing. Like, you know, Tupac gets into a gang beef and he's kicking somebody in a casino, Well, that rival gang is looking for him right now. You know, driving around Vegas, doing laps. Like, okay, we're gonna get our get back on this cat. You know, and that's just and then from that dynamic, it went back to LA. The next days, those gangs was going back and forth. It's a back and forth at that point of bodies, body for body, body for body, body for body, and that's and what you know. So even looking at like Chris Brown and his affiliation with Fruitown Pyru.
I think that's so silly. I think Chris Brown's affiliation is so silly.
That is such a big, major mistake. You know, because somebody comes and presses on him at a club, and he feels like, oh, I need to have backup now, and so I'm gonna get affiliated with these cats. I'm gonna start breaking off these cats for security. But really, they're just feeding off of him. That's all they're doing, just feeding off of him.
And they have a lot to feed off. The kid is worth a lot of money.
And ultimately, it's gonna. I'm just waiting for the moment when it happens. You know,
I think Nipsey Hussle should have had a fucking straight up ghetto pass all throughout, because what he was doing was employing people in the hood. There's sometimes even with drug dealers or whatever, they're like, yo, nobody touches that person. You leave that person alone. And he should have been one of those people that was left alone, you know, because he was doing too much good for people. But at the same time, I mean, jealousy and envy in the hood, you can't be famous outside of the hood and still expect to be safe in the hood, you know. But most of my beef
that manner of ethics doesn't exist, especially when it talks about LA gangbanging politics.
Right.
If you're a Crip, you're 6-0. I hate all 6-0s. That's what that's and it really it also stems from I lost my cousin to the 6-0s. I'm not saying me personally, I'm saying the mentality. I lost my cousin to the 6-0s, so I hate all 6-0s. Not the individual that shot him, but that whole gang now represents the death of my cousin or my best friend. So that's, it's never that pass of just like he's doing good at this point. He's a 6-0 at the end of the day.
But sometimes it destroys business. So look at the cartels in Mexico. In Mexico, the town of Tequila, where tequila is made, there's a straight truce in there. No one is allowed to do anything in there. Tourists can go in there. Anyone can go in there. Nothing lets off over there because they know that's their economy. So there has to be something like I think
that's an incentive.
Yeah.
A strong incentive.
Yeah.
See, without an incentive in the hood, without incentive, period, a human being is liable to do anything. And that's how the government keeps a lot of us in line. They create incentives to either keep you docile or to create a situation where you become violent. In the hood, one of the quickest path from prison to pipeline, so on and so forth, the incentive is desperation. The incentive is poverty. So you're going to commit crime. You can create situations. And you can put yourself in prison because they create incentives. So I was just bringing that up as an example. That's a strong point.
So Nipsey, do you think that Nipsey Hussle, right? Because I'm with you, Legs. There should be a pass for certain things, but in certain areas there's no code. There's just no code, right? But do you think, because I think I discussed this with you earlier, do you think Nipsey was in his right to be this multi-millionaire, the jewelry, the cars, the fame, the Hollywood girlfriend, okay, the mansion? Do you think he was still in his right to tell someone else who was in a gang, you're a snitch, there's papers on you, and think he was going to walk away?
I mean, it's
what happened.
That is what happened.
That's the deal. That was the whole.
Oops.
And it was literally the
that was the conversation.
The conversation went out like, don't come around here, shitty. We got there's papers on you. Folks know that you was out here snitching. So you can't come around the hood like that. And so I think that again, he's around a wolf pack. You know what I'm saying? That's the bottom line. And a little wolf nipped at his heels and got him. And that's just the bottom line. I mean, I would feel a certain way if I was from 60s and I'm in my neighborhood that I should be able to kind of stand with both feet on the ground. I understand that dynamic. He lived not too far away, so he could at least, half an hour drive, he could come back to the hood. And if I put in work in the hood, if I'm putting bodies down and cats know and respect that dynamic, he should have that level of like Crazy Lake said, a pass. But again, it comes down to the OGs getting together, the old cats that are not necessarily doing all the street work and sitting down and laying out terms, because there was a truce that just happened recently between a gang called the East Coast Crips, and not from the East Coast, but that's their name, and the Florencia 13s. Long Mexican gang, Florencia 13s, East Coast Crips are black. Battle for years. A lot of blood, between them. When the truce stopped in that meeting, the conversation was from the pen. The word was no more. And if you break that truce, we'll deal with you.
So after Nipsey, you're saying? After Nipsey, there were a couple of different gangs that sat down and had set up truce arrangements. And it wasn't specifically because of that, but I think it was a byproduct of that. Okay, because there was still they trashed his store, the Marathon store. They tagged up his murals. So obviously somebody was giving zero fucks out there and had some big balls.
Well, that's the young catch from.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to call every hood out in this whole situation.
Right. So Ice-T,
it comes across, but it happens. What I'm saying is that there's some young hoppy cat that's trying to get his name. He goes and spray paints a mural. The hood feels disrespected. Okay. They go put in the work. That's how.
Okay, so Ice-T recently was saying that the reason why he doesn't go back to the hood is because he's removed from that now, right? Like when he was in the hood, he was about it, right? And he knew the politics and everything. But when you go back, when you're removed and you go back, the young bulls that are out there putting in the work, you don't know who's who. You don't know those politics anymore. So I think I agree with him and with that statement, because I think these guys, they're rich, they're Hollywood guys, they're on red carpets now. You know what I mean? I still don't understand why they go back to the hood the way they go with the cars and the jewelry and the money and the Hollywood girl. I just don't understand. It's like they don't belong there anymore.
It's really cultural clout, man. They want to always have that cultural clout.
Yeah.
Look, I mean,
it's a hell of a drug.
On the Nipsey thing, like I'm anti-snitching, man. Like if you do something on the street level, like that shit I'm taking to the grave with me. I know there's a lot up here. But it stays here with me, and some of it is immature, but it's still where I come from, and I can't violate that. Right. And I, knowing that now, because I never really followed the story, but I get it. Do I want to go? No, do I still go back to the Bronx? Yeah, but am I trying to chill there and hang out on a corner and fucking crack a brew with somebody? Nah, not at all. Not at all. I'll smoke a blunt, but but I'm not trying to be out there like that. We're men. We're men. We got other shit we got to take care of.
Right. And PNB Rock, same thing. He went. Where did he get killed? Roscoe's. Was it Roscoe's?
Yeah. He was in the wrong Roscoe's.
A lot of people get
Roscoe's in Hollywood, but he went to the Roscoe's like deep in South Central. It's like nobody even goes to that
people out there were saying I wouldn't even go to that Roscoe's, and he's sitting there with thousands in jewelry on his neck. Why? Yeah. Pop Smoke, unfortunately, with Pop Smoke, his address was in one of the pictures that he was posting after he had gone shopping. So that's how they found him. But he was in Beverly Hills at the time. Also, I forgot his name. Was it King Von? He went back to some cookie store, his favorite cookie store in the hood. He got lit up there. It seems like every time they go back, man, it's just like, I don't know how many times it has to happen for them to learn. You don't go back. If you want to help, you help from a distance.
You know what?
It's not your hood no more.
It's not even just the hood anymore. It's not even just the hood, because.
I said it's not your hood anymore. It's not your hood anymore.
But bigger than that, it's like the people that you've hung out with. Once you begin to grow as a person and you come from that area and you grow and you push forward and you look back and say you see, we all have these people. We have people that we grew up with, and they're on Facebook, and we see how they're behaving, and they're literally still behaving like that motherfucker that's on the block. And you say to yourself, I literally have nothing to talk to this motherfucker about.
Hey, Haran, there's a saying
with this person.
There's a
and
saying.
We could have been running the blocks together, like Ace Boon Coon, 10 toes down, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. And you see where you are now, mentally, financially, whatever it is, and you see that person, and you're saying, how the fuck did me and this person even fuck with each other at one point?
Sometimes people only have memories in common.
Yeah.
You know?
Good point.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point.
Moving. That's some deep shit right there.
Oh, I'm gonna say that's one of my exes, bitch. The only thing we got in common is memories. Don't fucking don't fucking text me, ho.
Well, I learned that from a woman. Okay. Yeah, I had to be taught.
You had an argument, Lex? She told
No. It was an older person, my old manager. She was just like schooling us when we were teenagers.
Thank you, POP.
Huh?
Thank you, POP. He said it was Young Dolph. I get them confused because King Von got killed too, right? Listen, a lot of them got killed, okay? So I think King Von got killed out of a fight in a club, right? If I'm not mistaken. Young Dolph was in the cookie shop, and they lit up the cookie shop while the man was buying cookies. That's how crazy it is when you go back home. All right, guys, with that said, this was a bomb-ass show. Crazy Legs said this is only panel he comes up on. Bitch!
Yeah, pretty much. Do we get paid for this?
No hablo inglés. Sorry, Crazy Legs. I can't. You're breaking up, Crazy Legs. You're breaking up. Oh, we lost him. Salute to you, sir. We are honored to have you here as always.
No. The honor is mine because I sit and I listen to a lot of you, all of you speak on here, and I learn a lot. I hear perspectives. Sometimes I don't agree with it. Then Jen be getting on my nerves sometimes, some of the shit she be saying, but I know what she's doing. The antagonizer, devil's advocate. I get it. Sometimes I want to be like, ooh, fuck up.
Yeah, but you text me and tell me, you're like, I didn't agree with what you said. I'm like,
yeah. Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
The honor is mine.
Thank you so much, Legs.
We appreciate what you've done for the culture and for
thank you, my bro.
Absolutely.
Much respect for that.
Yeah, we gotta get Jen the proper flag though. She don't know, but she got the one color blue on there. She got the colonizer blue flag.
It's the light
We need that
blue.
black and white flag. We need
does
that black
kind of
and
look
white
like
flag.
Texas.
Ooh, there you go.
I know. I got the black and white one downstairs. I know. I got to get the ocean blue. I will get it just for Crazy Legs.
Though, so you're good.
You're. All right, guys.
Luke,
good night.
One, everybody. Take it easy. Peace.
Thanks.
All right, guys, hit that like and subscribe for Mama on your way out the door. If you enjoyed this stream, please hit your girl up. Cash App on the block with Jen so I can get all the money because YouTube taxes those super chats. So if you enjoyed this, please share it. Crazy Legs honored us tonight with his presence. That's what happens on the block. You never know who's going to pull up here. Stay tuned for my one-on-one interview with Big Daddy Kane. That is dropping soon. Again, Cash App on the block with Jen. We see you guys